You want to blend all these images together? It's simple. Just cut the images, correct the lightness, correct the color and saturation, draw the ambient light coming from the sky, draw the rim light coming from the sun. Adding 1.2 aperture effect will be great to create this bokeh effect. What about adding some final light effects and color grading using camera raw filter? We will learn all this in this tutorial. So, without any further ado, let's start our journey. Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Nour and this is Nour Art Channel. Simply, we are going to blend 3 images together, adding all the effects that we need, and that's it. Starting simple is a crucial thing. So let's jump straight into Photoshop and let's have fun. And the first thing you need to care about is to create 16-bit image. This will enhance the colors and will give you flexibility in coloring. If you don't have a powerful PC, never mind, you can use 8-bit and then press create. So let's start simple with each other and you will find all these images in the description so that you can follow it with me. Alright, let's start with removing this background. The easiest thing here, because we have a lot of complex edges here, so we need to remove this using the color range. So from select, go to color range and let's select the sky colors, and pressing on this button you can pick all the colors of the sky like this and then press OK. Boom, the sky is selected. Then let's create a mask and of course let's invert the mask pressing Ctrl I, and that's it. I don't need more than this because this will be blurred in the background. So let's just make it smaller like this and put it here. Very cool. Let's fade these edges and here we go. Then let's select the background. I'll select it using color range in 3, 2, 1. Boom, now the guy is selected. Let's put him right here. Very cool. Okay, let's just state it simply. If you want to blend images together, you need to blend, number 1, the lightness values, number 2, the saturation of the images, number 3, the colors of the images, and then draw the rim lights and lights effects. Okay, so let's start simple. I will start element by element. So let's start with the sky because we want to enhance its colors at first and then apply the colors to the other objects. I will use selective color here and put it right here. Let's put the sky in a group and let's name it background. Create a clipping mask and let's start to enhance these colors. I'll go to the whites, which is the highest lights in the image, which are these parts and these parts. I'll simply add some red tones here, add some magenta, and then add some yellow. Very cool, to enhance the saturation of the colors here, to increase it. And then maybe we can remove or decrease the lightness because it's very bright. We need to decrease its brightness. And you need to understand a rule here. When you decrease the lightness of something, you increase its saturation, or you can see more color on it. So for example, here, as you can see, if we make this bright, you will not see a lot of colors here, but if we make it darker, you can see more color. Okay, very nice. Now let's go to the neutrals and I want to shift the colors of this blue sky into more cyanish color, a little bit cyanish. So let's add some cyanish effect, maybe decrease the magenta, which will increase the greens, as you know, and maybe add some blue. Maybe let's make it a little bit dark. Very cool. Now let's go to the shadows and let's add some cyan also. So maybe a little bit of magenta and maybe some yellows to neutralize the blue effect or the blue color. And then fade it a little bit or make it brighter. Very cool. Let's see before, after, before, and after. Very nice. Now the sky is ready to blend all the images with. So let's start with this platform. I will put it into a group and let's start to analyze this image and see how can we blend it with this image. So firstly, let's check the lightness values. For me, it looks cool, and if you can't define it needs edits or not, you can simply create a solid color with 50% gray and press OK and change its blending mode into color. Now you remove the color and saturation from the equation, and now you can see the image in a better way. So as you can see, for me right now, it looks perfect. It doesn't need a lot of adjustments. So let's start by, except for this area needs to be dark. That's it. So I will darken this area a little bit by a curves layer. I will darken it like this and press Ctrl I to invert the mask. And using the soft rounded brush, I can paint over this area. Simple as that. Very nice. Now let's hide this layer and let's have a look. Okay, now the lightness values are matched. Let's have another look to correct the colors of this image to blend it with background image. But let me first fix this greenish tint that is here. I don't like how it looks. So let's go to the selective color again and let's reduce from the neutrals. Let's reduce this cyanish tone. Yeah, it looks better, way better. All right, now let's analyze the colors of this image and let's try to match it with this image. Of course, it needs good eye and a lot of practicing. So don't expect to get it from the first time. But if you look carefully here, you can see that these colors are shifted towards more yellowish tones. As you can see here, if we open the color picker, you will see that all the colors are shifted into the reddish and orangey color. But if you look at the sky, you will find that all the colors are shifted to the bluish tones. So what we need to do here is to create color balance layer and to shift these colors toward these blue tones. It's simple. You can go to the adjustments and create a color balance adjustment layer. And let's start to add cyan and blue. Okay. And of course you need to create a clipping mask and see. So in the midtones, we added some cyan and some blue effect and maybe some magenta. Let's go to the highlights and let's try to add some cyanish and bluish tones, and let's go to the shadows and let's do the same thing, keeping an eye to the object because we don't want it to be oversaturated, or we don't want the colors to be monotone. We want the object itself to have some colors, but these colors are shifted towards blue. I hope you understand this point. Very cool. Maybe we need to change the highlights into more yellowish orangey tones. Yeah. Feel free to experiment it with your eye and see and notice carefully the effects. So let's see before and after. Here is before and here is after. Before, after, it's now blended in a better way. Very cool, I like it, but I don't like how these lights looks like, even though it will be blurred in the background, but we need to fix it. So how can we do this? We can do this simply by duplicating the original layer and putting it into the mask, the clipping mask itself, and let's change its blending mode into screen, okay? And now, let's remove everything from this layer that we have just made. Press Ctrl A and backspace or Alt backspace to remove everything. And then using the soft rounded brush, I will just paint in these light areas, okay? Doing this, I'm just popping up the light effects. This will make it look better when we create the bokeh effect. I hope you understand this point. Very nice, very nice. That's enough for me. One final thing I need to add in this sky is just simply create a new layer and create some hazing effect or atmosphere effect. I will pick some color from the sun colors. Let's say this color, and then change the blending mode into screen, and using the soft rounded brush I will decrease the flow and will make the brush very big, and give it some touch like this. Of course, this is very high effect, so let's reduce it and let's decrease the opacity. Very cool. Some cool hazing effect. Very nice, very nice. Now let's add the blur effect to the background. So how can we do this? I'll simply create a new layer and press Alt Ctrl Shift E to put all the visible layers together into one layer. And then let's go to Filter, Blur and Lens Blur. This is a very special blur to create this bokeh effect. Increasing the threshold and playing around with these sliders, you can create this effect. And then press OK. Very nice. As you can see, here is before, here is after. Quick pause. If you are interested in creating amazing visuals like these step by step, I have good news for you because my premium course is now published and you can check it in the link in the description. In this course, I have explained all these 9 projects in details. We have explained everything from putting images together, correcting lightness values, correcting saturation, correcting colors, and we have talked about some basic concepts like the composition rules, adjusting light and shadow, how to paint light and shadow, how to put atmosphere effect, and adding the last final grading and color effects. All these you will find in the link in the description. You will find also the PSD files, the stock images used, all the brushes used in this. And the course now is on discount, so don't miss the chance. Check the link in the description and let's get back to the video. Now let's create some glow effects that is coming out of the lights of the sun and the platform. So how can we do this? I'll simply create a new layer and let's pick some orange saturated color like this. I want it to be very saturated. And then let's change the blending mode into screen, decrease the flow into like 20%, and let's give it a touch, decrease the brush size, one more, couple, another one, another one, another one. So I am simply now creating a glow effect coming out of a center point like this. Let's see. This is the effect. And let's create another one here, but with a complementary color or a cold color. Here is this orange is hot. So let's complement it with a cold color. Change the blending mode of the layer into screen and let's make the brush bigger. One more, and another one. This needs to be subtle because of course it will not be the same colors as the sun or the same lightness as the sun. Very nice. Now the background is ready. So let's bring our guy and let's try to fix him to match this background. All right, firstly, we need to get rid of these fringes. We all hate fringes like this. So let's get rid of them. Simply focus on this trick. I'll select our guy by pressing Ctrl and pressing into the mask. Secondly, I will go to select and modify and contract with, let's say, 4 pixels. I'll shift the edges for 4 pixels. And then I will invert this selection. So let's go to select and inverse. And next I will create a new layer, create a clipping mask and paint over this area. So basically what I'm going to do now is to paint here, only in this area of the fringes. Okay, but I will not paint with color. I will paint with the clone stamp tool. So I will pick a source from here and let's paint over here. Now fringes are gone forever. Oh, that is so satisfying. Let's pick another one from here and let's paint over here. Very nice. Let's see before and after. Great job, my friend. Okay, now our guy is ready to be blended with the background. So let's start by blending the lightness. Obviously, the guy is very bright. He's shining. So how can we decrease his brightness? Of course, by curves. So let's go to curves, create a clipping mask, decrease his brightness as hell, like this. And if you want to check, you can go to the black and white check layer, and let's see, can decrease it more. And maybe we can open up the shadows a little bit. Very nice, very nice. We need these dark tones to be brighter than these dark tones, because as you know, when you go with distance, the atmosphere effect will fade objects. So I like how it looks right now. Let's hide this layer, and now a lot of things needs to be fixed, because as you can see right now, the colors are way shifted than the background colors. The background colors are bluish, and here we have a lot of yellow and orange tones. You will get this scale by practicing, you know? So let's go to adjustments, and let's bring color balance, and let's add a bunch of cyans, create a clipping mask, and some blue tones. Now we are talking. Now the image is a little bit blended. You can see right now. Let's go to the highlights. I guess we need also, maybe we can add some orange here in the highlights. So let's add some red and touch of green, maybe touch of blue. And let's go to the shadows and do the same thing. Cyanish, bluish tone. All right, now it looks blended already. So let's see before and after. Boom. I've done a great job right here, guys. That's very cool. Now, you need to understand some very important thing. In an image like this, you will have two sources of light. The first source of light will be the sunlight, of course. It will draw rim light in his edges. And the second thing will be the sky itself, the ambient light coming out of the sky. So the sky will make his face brighter, a little bit brighter, and it will be soft lights. Okay, this is a very important point. So let's start by painting the lights coming out of the sky, and for this, let's shift to the graphic tablets mode. Let's bring this graphic tablets here, and let's bring our pen to be more precise. So how can we draw the lightness? I'll go to adjustments, and let's create a curves adjustment layer, and let's make it brighter. Create a clipping mask, and then press Ctrl I to invert this mask. Because this source of light, the sky, is very big, it will create diffused lights, and it will be very soft. So we will draw the lights using soft rounded brush. Okay, but let's try to be precise as well, because we don't want flat lighting. And if you want to know how to draw light and shadow precisely, I've created a full video for this, explaining everything, how to define form, how to understand light, and how to draw it precisely. The link is in the description. And if you are tuned into photo manipulation, of course, you need to understand how to draw light and shadow. All right, so now I'm trying to paint the light softly here in his area. I'm now imagining some source of light coming from the sky. So his nose will have a lot of light. Here, his cheek will also have some lights, very soft lights like this. And of course, you need to decrease the flow of the brush, and it needs some practice, guys. A lot of practice actually, to synchronize between your eye and your hand. It's nothing but practice, pure practice. Okay, very nice. And a good screen monitor, of course. Here also. Every plane that is facing the sky needs to have some soft lights and subtle lights. Okay. Be careful, my friend, because if you draw bad lighting, it will change the shape of this man, you know, so you need to be very subtle and be accurate, and this will come only with practice. Okay, so let's see, here's before and here's after. It made a very cool effect, some light source coming out of the sky, and we can decrease the opacity later if we don't like it. Very nice. Now let's paint the rim light coming out of this sun. So how can we do this? I'll simply do this by a solid color adjustment layer. Let's pick some saturated orange color like this, press OK, create a clipping mask, change the blending mode into screen, and let's use the magic of blend F slider. So double click into the image, go to blend F, and let's remove the dark pixels from our layer. So I'll split this cursor from here like this, and then press OK, and then press Ctrl I to invert the mask. I will paint this rim light into 2 layers. So let's duplicate this one. The first layer will be soft lights. So we will make the brush big and soft, and I will paint subtle light effect coming out of the right, like this, very subtle, very cool. Next, I will draw the highlights, and for drawing the highlights, I will use sharper brush. So let's bring this brush, it's oil pastel brush. As you can see, it's sharp brush, but it gives me some texture, you know. So as you can see, when I paint with it, I can have some texture, and that is what I need. So let's start with his hat. I think I will speed up the process of this area because it will take some time, but if you want to understand it fully, you will find it in the link in the description. Okay, very nice. Let's paint some sharp lights here, zoom out, very cool. Now let's go to his hair and let's activate this pressure sensitivity option, and let's increase the flow of the brush, and let's paint some sharp rim lights to his hair. But you need to follow the direction of his hair, okay, to create realistic effect. Very cool. I will start with hair, and now let's make it somehow bigger. Let's draw some rim lights here. See here, you need to analyze the shape upon which you're drawing. So if you're drawing into a spherical object, you need to be more rounded, you need to be softer. But if you are drawing into sharp thing, you need to be harsh or hard edges. Okay, so let's start with these edges, drawing some rim lights right here into his beard, here and here. Very nice, very nice. I like how it looks. Let's zoom out. Very nice. Maybe we can increase the effect here and here. See, cool. I think we need to decrease the flow of the brush, and let's remove some parts from here. Let's make the flow 2%. And let's draw some rim lights here. This area needs to be painted carefully because you can easily ruin your composite drawing bad highlights. Okay, so you need to paint it carefully. Very nice. Take your time to blend it the right way, and take your time to analyze the perfect intensity of light that should be painted. Okay. Very cool. Let's go to his neck and let's paint here. Lights. Maybe we can erase it from here. And let's paint it here. Needs practice. Every time I create a composite, my skills are getting better and better. Especially in something like painting lights and shadows. Okay, very cool. Let's go and paint some highlights to this fish here. Of course, here we will not have highlights, but here and the tail. Now I think we're good, but I think we need to create some other highlights here in this part coming out of this blue light. I will do it fastly and simply using another solid color with a screen blending mode, and let's play around with the blend if sliders. It's actually the same process, so I'll do it fastly using soft turned brush here. But here I don't want the intensity to be high, so let's try to be subtle. Maybe we need to decrease the intensity of this rim light, so let's just decrease it like this. Very cool. Now we have reached the 0 point. Everything is blended, but we need to spice it with some color grading. So let me show you my special process for creating some good looking color grading. So let's start by creating a new group and let's create curves adjustment layer at first. So what I like to do firstly is to decrease the lightness a little bit like this, and maybe open up the shadows tiny bit and maybe increase the contrast like this. Okay, then I go to the red channel and I try to shift the highlights, the colors in each channel to get the mode that I want. So let's start by increasing the cyans into the highlights, and let's see. Maybe increasing the red. Yeah, increasing the red in the highlights give me good results. So let's try it. And into the shadows, I'll increase also the reds. Okay, so let's see. Here is before, here is after, and that is only by shifting the highlights, the shadows into more reddish tones. And you get it from experimenting. You see, you analyze, you try something, and then you judge it if you like it or not, or if it's making the mood that you want or not. So next, let's go to the greens and let's try to add greens or magenta. Maybe I think we need to add some green into the highlights and then add some magenta into the shadows. This is looking very cool. Let's see for after. Very nice. Let's go to the blues, and I think we need to add yellow to the highlights. Yeah, because as you know, the yellow is the opposite of blue. So when you decrease the blue value in the highlights, that means that you increase the yellow value in these highlights. Okay, wherever the mechanism, you can simply play around with the tool and see and notice what is looking good. We are artists, we are not engineers, so it's okay not to understand the concept, but it helps, believe me. So let's increase the yellows, bunch, like this, and maybe we can increase the yellows also in the shadows. That looks nice, very nice. Let's see before and after, before and after. Looks better for me at least. Secondly, I create a new layer. Press Alt Ctrl Shift E to blend every visible layer together in one layer. Right click, convert to smart object, and let's jump into our lovely filter, which is camera raw. So let's go to filter and camera raw filter. And all the magic happens here. Here is a rule that I have learned. If you want to create cinematic, dramatic color grading, you need to get away from pure white and pure black. You don't want to make a very bright highlights or a very dark shadows. Okay, so I will start firstly by playing around with the contrast slider, but let's decrease the contrast in this area and let's see. Okay, so let's decrease the highlights because there are a lot of highlights here. So let's decrease it like this. Very nice. And let's open up the shadows to see more in the darks. And let's decrease also the whites. Let's see. It's not bad. Maybe we can decrease the exposure. Very cool. So these are basic adjustments. Let's try to play around with the white balance. Yeah. Let's add some yellow and maybe some magenta. Very nice. So some basic adjustments. Let's see before and after. Before and after. The decreasing of the highlights made a very good results, because the image itself looks very saturated. So let's decrease the vibrance and let's jump straight into calibration, and let's try to shift the colors of the sky to more cyanish color. Add some cyanish tones into the sky. Very nice. Shift the skin tones toward more orange. And let's decrease the saturation. Very nice. I think we can add some grain effect. And when I add grain effects, I like to zoom in like this because I don't want this grain effect to be exaggerated, or I want it to be subtle. Okay. Very nice. Adding vignetting effect. Yeah. It adds to the story. Change the midpoint and feather it like this, keeping the highlights. Maybe we can decrease the effect. Very nice. Very nice. Let's see what else. Let's go to the color mixer and let's see these yellows. We need to decrease the saturation of the yellows or oranges. So this orange needs to be less. So let's decrease the reds. What about the oranges? No, I like how it looks, but let's make it a little bit less saturated. And the yellows, let's decrease it. Maybe we can increase the cyan and the blue. Very cool. I think we need to get some vibrance back. So let's get back this to 0. Let's make it like this. Of course, this is not the best result you can get. You can get better results than this, but you know, in the sake of the tutorial, it's not bad. It's a back and forth process. I don't get it from the first time, so it needs a lot of eyeballing actually. So for now, let's go to details, add some sharpening. And yeah, let's see, here is before and after. Before and after. This camera raw filter is doing a great job. Alright guys, that was intense. I hope you benefited and most importantly had fun. And again, if you are interested in learning techniques of photo manipulation and creating great composites, you will find my premium course in the description. Alright guys, see you in the next classes. Peace.